Good morning, everyone. Come on in and sit down. Let's fill in the front a little bit. The thing about sitting in the front that seems a little weird is then our friends who are joining us online can see all the people here, so that's kind of fun. Good morning. Today our gathering and greeting is from Reverend Erica A. Hewitt to learn more about being human. Welcome to this morning, this day, this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenge. The Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we figured out life's questions or because we think we have it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. My name is the Reverend Mandy Goheen. My pronouns are she, her, and this is the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga, both in person and online. You are welcome here today. We're so glad you're here. Whatever brought you here is the reason you're here today, and we are filled with joy. I want to just take a moment for the people who come on a regular basis to express some appreciation for our visitors today. Are we happy about having visitors here? Yeah! You are so welcome here. We're so excited if this is your first time or your millionth time. Every day that we come together, we create a new container of community. Let us move into worship willing to be authentic with each other, honest with ourselves, and opening to connections in all of their forms. Our opening words are suddenly awake with awe. Do not fail to be surprised by the catching of your breath, the quickening of your heart, the fullness of your eyes, wide and suddenly awake with awe. Here is a place filled with wonder that still there might be something new born today, that we might be born anew today. Do not fail to notice the changing, life full and abundant already beginning, by our coming together already possible, by the promises we make, to give, to receive, to become more together, and to forgive again and again. The falling short that is always already here. We find ourselves among the courageous, feeling ourselves, trying to become brave with each other, in and out brave with ourselves. Each word, each pause today, each song, we give thanks to be on this journey. Come, let us worship together. This is the time in our service when we light our chalice, and I'd like to invite our board rep, Judy, on up here. Our board reps are representatives from the board that are here to answer your questions, help you figure out what you need to know about this church from the business end of things, as they say. Please join me in the chalice lighting words. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. It is the season upon us of thinking about Christmas and the holidays, and our opening song, O Come, Emmanuel, can be found number 255 in the Singing the Living Tradition, the gray hymnal. Please feel free to rise in body or spirit both here and at home and join us in singing our opening hymn.
O come, Emmanuel, and ransom children dwell. Give comfort to all
seated. Unless you're a young person who would like to come up here and sit with me. Anyone? Anyone? Me and David? All right. Come on up. David is always my helper with letting me think about stories for all. Oh, we have more people. Yay. All right. I'm going to sit down here. So did you know Christmas was coming? What have you noticed about the days and about the dark lately? Anything? The days have gotten shorter and the nights have gotten longer. Yes. What else?
I've been looking forward to the winter solstice.
Looking forward to the winter solstice. Did you know that some people are a little bit afraid when it's dark outside? Are you ever a little bit afraid when it's dark outside?
Only when I'm outside.
Only when you're outside. Yeah, that's the only time I'm afraid, when it's dark outside.
Even inside for me.
I'm afraid inside sometimes. Like, I get a little creeped out in basements when they're really dark. What about you?
I get kind of freaked out in like top floors instead of basements.
Okay, top floors are creepy instead of basements. All right, so we're all different at church, right? So you don't have a basement. Okay, we're going to move on. The name of this story is Who Loves the Dark? There once was a child who got lost in the woods. As night began to descend, the child became more and more frightened. I'm sure any of us would be frightened too in that situation. But what made this child even more frightened was that he had always been afraid of the dark. He was more afraid of the dark than his friends or his siblings. He didn't know why he was more afraid than his friends or his siblings. He only knew that when the sun went down, he was always very glad to be inside a brightly lit house. When the sun went all the way down, and the only light was a tiny bit of light from the moon and stars, the child got so frightened. Remember, alone in the woods, right? That's pretty scary. All he could do was sit down and cry, which he did. Soon he heard a voice say, "What's all that racket?" And he looked down and saw a mole looking up, squinting up at him. Do you know what a mole is? It's like a little mouse-y thing. It's a mole. It lives underground, and it likes the dark. Anyway, the boy said, "I'm lost in the woods, and it's dark, and I'm afraid." "Well," said the mole, "perhaps you could take your noisy crying further on down the path. I have to come out of my warm, comfortable, dark hole to tell people to be quiet." The child heard another voice. "Go back in your hole, Mr. Mole. I will take care of this." The child looked up in the direction that the new voice seemed to be coming from, and it was all darkness. All he could see were two glowing eyes looking down. Before he could scream, which was his first impulse, there was a flutter of wings, and the creature flew down near him, and he could see it was an owl. I didn't know all these things could talk, but that helps the story so we know what's going on. And the owl said, "Please excuse Mr. Mole. He hates coming out of his nice dark hole for anything, to be honest." At this, the child burst out crying even harder than before, because as frightened as he was of the dark, having non-human animals speaking to him was beyond his experience and a little frightening in itself. "No need for crying," said the owl. "If you just give me your address, I can guide you home." With that, the child indeed stopped crying, partly out of relief that someone might be able to lead him home, and partly out of curiosity as to how an owl knew addresses and could locate his house. But deciding he had a little to lose, the child choked back the tears and replied that he would be very grateful to be guided to his home, and gave the owl his address. And I hope everyone here has his or her home address memorized in case an owl ever has to guide you home. Okay, that's important. So the strange pair headed through the dark forest in what the child hoped was truly the direction of his home. When his fear left him just a little bit, the child looked around, and through the moonlight, although the moonlight was dim, he noticed his surroundings a little bit. At one point, he noticed a kind of flower he'd never seen before. and slowed his pace just a little so he could gaze at it. "That," said the owl, "was an evening primrose. Did you know that there are some flowers that only bloom at night? There are moonflowers and night gladiolas too, flowers you would never see unless you went out at night." After a while, the owl said, as if musing aloud to herself, "And of course there are animals too who love the night and darkness. Me, for example, I love the dark. In the daytime, the light hurts my eyes, so that's when I like to go to sleep in my tree." The boy replied, "Well, I like the daytime because I can see to kick a ball, and I like the hot sun and the beach. And when it's dark, when the dark isn't scary, it's just boring." "Boring, you say?" the owl replied. Clearly, she had some opinions to express on the point, but just then there was a fluttering and a squeaking above their heads. It took the child just a few seconds to figure out what it was, and he shrieked, "A bat!" And he started flailing his arms and to knock the creature away, shrieking the whole time. The shape backed away, hovering just out of reach. "Excuse me," said the bat. "I was just trying to say hello." "Well, hello to you, Mr. Bat," said the owl. "This child was out here lost in the forest, and I am helping him find his way home. You're not hurt, are you?" "Well," said the bat, "I probably have a bruise on my backside, but I think I'll live." "But you're a bat," said the child, "a creature of the darkness. Weren't you trying to drink our blood?" "No," said the bat. "I've been eating bugs all day, all night, and I wouldn't have been biting you if I hadn't been around. Anyway, I couldn't help overhearing that what you said about darkness being boring. And if you want to come just a little bit out of your way, I can show you something really exciting." Okay, do we trust bats to tell us? I don't know. It seems very odd to me.
I trust them because, bats never drink blood, so,
Well, some bats do drink blood, but only a tiny percent, and that will be a different story for another day, but none around here. And the child said also, what do parents tell us about strangers? Never go any place with strangers.
But why does he trust the owl and not the bat?
Right, why does he trust the owl and not the bat? We'll get to that, okay. But the owl vouched for the bat, like he's a trustworthy guy. And we've known each other for years and years and years. And the owl agreed that Mr. Bat was indeed an upstanding citizen. So the group went on the path and traveled through the deeper part of the forest, what seemed like just a few minutes, and they came onto a dark beach. "Here we are," said the bat, and the child gazed out at the beach, lit very gently by the moonlight. And the child said, "This is certainly beautiful, even in the dark, but I wouldn't call it exciting." Just then there was a movement in the sand, like bubbles rising up, and then another little bubble and another, and it looked almost as if the beach area were boiling, and that out of one of those little bubbles of sand popped a round shape. "Looks like we got here just in time," said the bat, and they watched more and more shadowy shapes come out of the sand, and soon the child realized what he was seeing. Lots of baby turtles, hundreds, climbing out of the sand. This was truly exciting. Once each turtle shape pulled itself out of the sand, it started crawling as fast as its legs could carry it towards the water. And the owl said, "When baby sea turtles hatch," in a sort of teachery voice, by the way, "they need to find their way to water, and they almost always do this at night because they can find the water they need in the darkness. When everything else, they follow the shining of the moon and the stars on the water. Daytime sunlight is too bright and scattered everywhere, so baby turtles use the moon in the dark to find the water." That's cool. And the kid said, "Oh," and they turned to leave and head back towards the child's home. The owl spoke again, as if thinking aloud to herself once again. "You know who else loves the darkness besides all the nighttime plants and animals? The moon and the stars. They're out in the daytime, but they're hidden behind the light of the sun. But when all the sun goes down, the stars and the moon can reveal their beauty." And after what seemed like a very short time, the child and the owl left the forest and walked up to a house that the child recognized. He was very happy and relieved, but also a little sad to say goodbye to the owl. Before the child went to bed, as a matter of habit, he bent down to turn the night light on. He always kept glowing through the night to keep the dark at bay. But just before his fingers touched the light switch this time, he smiled and pulled away. And he got into bed and pulled up the covers and let the comforting arm of darkness soothe him to sleep. The end. What do you think? Yeah, pretty good. That's good. All right. I like being places where I get to see things that are surprising, don't you? Yes, and I like learning things by my mistakes. And sometimes I think the mistake was maybe not being in the woods at night by yourself. So let's not do that. And also, owls really don't talk, right? Okay. And they go, whoo, whoo. Right. So it is time for religious education. So anyone high school and younger is invited to go downstairs and learn great things, probably not more about make-believe owls, but all of us, let's join together and sing our young folks downstairs.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.
This is a time in our service when we set aside what's not set aside. Bring to this community what might be bothering us. Bring to this space what joys and sorrows we've had in the week. And our meditation today is by Julia Hamilton, and it's called, Who Are We to Be Against Glory? So I'm going to read the poem. We're going to take some time in silence, and then I'm going to invite folks up to light a candle for their joys or concerns. But maybe during this poem, just use your brain to question and relax into, who are we to be against glory? Spirit of hope, settle into our bones on this winter morning. Remind us once again that the dawn light is never a gamble. If there ever was a sure bet, it's the sunrise. Even stones crumble, even grief changes and shifts, and death is a mystery that is certain but not solid. But hope is like the sunrise, eternal, bone-bred within us. We are creatures built by sunshine and cannot carve this hope out of our bones if we tried. And yet people have tried to entomb the light, tried to steal the morning. Emperors, kings, priests, and patriarchs have brought down death, certain but not solid, on any of those who point to a new dawn. In this fearless moment, we can be forgiven if we stumble, and doubt if we deny. But still the sun rises and calls her children into bloom. Always, she says, always I will return. So do not despair. All is not lost. The small ways of petty tyrants never win. So place your money on the sunrise. Who are we to bet against glory? And I just did the safe bet and lit some candles, some extra ones for folks online, and also the joys and concerns that are in our hearts that we might not be ready to bring forward. So the theme for this month is wonder. And it makes sense. It's the holidays, right? We're in we put ourselves in a space of hopefully experiencing some wonder. Wonder is a noun, a cause for astonishment or admiration. But it also can be a descriptor. It's a wonder you didn't get killed. You know, we can use it like, wow, that's surprising. That was hard. Wonder is a miracle, the quality of exciting amazement and admiration. It's also rapt attention or astonishment at something awesomely mysterious. Or a feeling of doubt and uncertainty, a place of curiosity and exploration. And that's the kind of wonder I'm using to wonder if the holiday seasons are joyful. Joy is an emotion evoked by well-being, success, or good fortune, or here's the catch, even the prospect of good fortune can bring us joy. Just the idea of gathering at the holidays brings us some joy. The things that we might think of that we will taste or smell, the way we use our senses during the holiday invites us into a time of experience, a time of cultivating awe. But something weird happens during the holiday. Something strange happens in families specifically. It is the time of year that we get together with people who might have betrayed us. Let that sink in for a minute. And how we behave in the context of betrayal has a little bit to do with us, but if it is a new betrayal, it is certain to be a surprise. That's part of it. I went to the holy book of Wikipedia this week to find out what betrayal meant. And I don't love the definition, but I think it's really important. And the second part of it's the most important. An act of betrayal creates a constellation of negative behaviors, thoughts, feelings in both the victims and the perpetrators. Interactions are complex. The victim might exhibit anger and confusion and demand atonement from the perpetrator, who in turn may experience guilt or shame and hopefully exhibit remorse. If after the perpetrator has exhibited remorse and apologized, it falls on the person who was hurt to take the next steps. If we keep dragging it up, if we keep mulling over a betrayal, if the apology wasn't good enough, if we become attached to it, if no true apology, atonement, or real remorse is exhibited, then forgiveness is pretty much impossible. So why then, in the holiday season, are we supposed to betray ourselves sometimes when we have issues with family members, friends, or beloveds just to eat some turkey? And then, or maybe give them a present. First of all, we are people of growth and covenant, so we understand that relationships have rules. And as Unitarian Universalists, we move into the world specifically with the covenant of this church to assume good intentions. And so when I talk about betrayal, I'm talking about specifically today the idea of assuming bad intentions, quite frankly. Assuming that we can take someone's vulnerability and profit from it. And that's my definition of betrayal. Betrayal is hard to explain, but it comes up in literature and religion over and over again. It's like the source of the good plot twist in the crime drama, right? The red herring, the person that we follow or are surprised we're betrayed by who really had done it. And the place of betrayal that's so interesting at the holidays is the story of mistletoe. The story of mistletoe comes from Norse mythology, specifically in the area of Iceland. And mistletoe, if you didn't already know, is the round plants growing in the trees that we can see now because the leaves have fallen out. And mistletoe is a parasitic plant. It's an evergreen, but it's also, I see someone pointing to it out the window, but also it's a place where birds can nest. It's a symbol of love and affection, and it's poisonous. So mistletoe's a little confusing. Like, why? Why do we kiss under mistletoe? It seems awkward. And plus, poinsettias are poisonous. Why are the Christmas plants all poisonous? That just seems odd. So back to mistletoe. In Norse mythology, we all have heard or probably heard of Loki, right? And Loki is the trickster. Loki is the person who is a master of betraying. In fact, Loki is the kind of person, or god, or make-believe character, that thrives on betrayal and is always watching to have his own personal upper hand. Family gatherings are awkward for Loki, as you can imagine, especially when he goes to the family gathering and his stepbrother is there, and his stepbrother is Baldar. Baldar is the Old Norse god. He's the son of Odin, who is Odin, the one-eyed. You might know that, not the whole story. It's very interesting, so look into mythology. And Odin and Frigg have this beautiful son, Baldar, and everyone loves him. He's really good at football, probably. He's great at art. He sings the best. You have that family member, right, that got all the scholarships, knows all the answers. It's hard as humans not to have a little bit of resent and thoughts about, making Baldar not be quite so cool. Baldar's mother, Frigg, is concerned because she knows, she's a mama, and she knows that being so wonderful puts her son in a vulnerable position, because on top of being awesome, he also is invulnerable to everything except for the pierce of an arrow. So this creates great family fun. Everyone is hitting Baldar over the head with bottles and beating him up, and they're laughing, and it's hilarious how great he is. He's so great, he can't even be hurt. But Frigg is worried, so she goes to all the elements on earth. She asks the plants, "Will you protect my son?" Well, of course we love him. He's amazing. She goes to the elements. Well, sure, we'll protect him. She goes to the animals. This guy is adored by all, trust me. But she didn't acknowledge mistletoe. She didn't think it was dangerous. It's just a little round plant. It's a sprig. It's kind of wiggly, right? Nobody was going to feed it to him. It didn't seem like a threat. Well, Loki caught on to this. I know you're shocked, because Loki's the kind of being who is always looking to take advantage of people's vulnerabilities for his own gain. And sometimes Loki's own gain is just to get the last laugh. It's not even because he's going to gain something huge from it. So Frigg and Odin have another son called Hothar, and he's super strong. Each of their kids have some amazing ability, right? He's super strong, and he can't see. And he doesn't have a special weapon, and he's bored at this family gathering where people are throwing rocks and hitting his brother over the head with trees and all the things that are happening. And he's just kind of shoved over to the side because A, he doesn't have a special weapon to get in on the fun, and B, he can't really see what's going on. And so he's probably pouting. Now, that's the person I kind of relate to, like pouting in the corner because somebody else is cooler than me. So he's pouting, and Loki catches on to that too and sees his chance to take advantage. And so Loki goes out and gets a sprig of mistletoe and forms it into a dart. And then he talks to Baldar, and he's like, "I know you're bored. Do you want to get in on the fun? I have an idea. I have this little dart gun. And if you just blow in it, you can also be in on the fun, and I'll point you in the right direction." And so the blow dart of mistletoe kills Baldar. I mean, kills him. It goes to his heart. He's completely vulnerable to this, and he's gone. And everything goes from celebration to mourning. And so much mourning. And remember, everything in the world loved him. even the rocks. And everyone was just lamenting and so sad. So sad, in fact, that some of the gods went on a mission to hell, the underworld, and talked to the goddess of the underworld and said, we've got to have this guy back. I mean, everyone loves him. And the goddess of the underworld says, okay, well, go ask everyone, and if you come back to me and no one said that he was a bad person or they didn't like him, I will send him back. He will rise again. Does some of this sound familiar? I will send him back. And so the gods go on a journey through the universe talking to everything. Well, Mistletoe doesn't love him at this point. He kind of got left out. But everything is talking about how much they love him and how much they want him back, except for this grouchy giant who doesn't care for him at all. Turns out the grouchy giant, once again, is Loki in disguise, because Loki doesn't want him back. Baldur pulls the attention away from Loki. So, long story short, he doesn't come back, but there has to be some way of taking what happens and turning it into something good. And that's where Frigg comes back into the story. She goes back and talks to Mistletoe again. And she says, this is a great hurt and betrayal upon the whole world. And I need to change the context of this. I need to create hope in this. So from this time forward, anytime someone meets under mistletoe, it will be for love. And interestingly and twisted enough, that is why people in the United States kiss under mistletoe. Because when it's everywhere, it's in all the countries, and when settlers came to the New World, they saw the mistletoe and they created the myth around the mistletoe. But you know how sometimes we do stuff and we don't remember why? It's very mysterious, and we're not connected to Norse mythology. We are connected to other mythologies. We hear in the story of Jesus, for example, how Judas is there as the betrayer. And actually, as much as it irks us, betrayers provide us with one of those things: another learning experience, another way to grow up, another way to redevelop who we are as forgivers, another way to recontextualize our hope in who we are. Now, I want to be clear about, I'm not talking about like professional narcissists or con men or people who we expect to get one over on us. I'm talking about being strong when somebody gets something over on us and we didn't see it coming, and we are betrayed because we are vulnerable with them. How do we stay strong? How do we stay hopeful in that? How do we create a context of beauty and love in that situation? Well, one way is learning from it. Another way is to be graceful forgivers, as hard as that is. And another way is having really good boundaries and learning. And the reason we learn through betrayal and relationships is so when the next relationship comes along or the next interaction in that relationship shows up, we have some stated boundaries of what we need. And sometimes what we need is just for someone to listen. I know I've been talking about that a lot. Sometimes we need people around us who help us recontextualize those learning experiences in life. And this place is like that. The Unitarian Universalist Church gives us an opportunity to come in and be vulnerable and learn who we are and be authentic and strong about it. And that is a road fraught with peril. That's not easy. But to be proud and strong together and to develop that idea of mistletoe, holding us up and reminding us how important love is despite how hard life is super important. And that's where I want you to focus your wonder next time somebody might hurt you or betray you, or better yet, We betray people, right? It happens both ways. Not intentionally sometimes. But so next time, let's work on being hopeful, good apologizers together. Let's work on learning together. Let's avoid shutting ourselves down so that we're not hurt. That is a trap. If we shut ourselves down so far to the experiences of the world around us that we don't give ourselves opportunities to learn and to take risks, we're going to have a really hard time being authentic. So let's take this holiday season that is very complicated. Remember, betrayal is complicated. And let's take that and find the hope in it. Remember, the poem said you couldn't get hope out of a person if you tried to take it out of their bones. We are hopeful, loving people. If you're here today, that's probably very, very true. You're here because you love the world. We love the environment. We love each other. But most of all, we love growing together. And isn't that cool that we have a place where we can talk about hard stuff like betrayal and use it as a pathway for growth? I want to talk about one last thing, which is the sensitivity of this subject and betrayal. I'm going to stay after church today, and we're going to make a little circle. And if you need to talk about some things that are going on in your life and process what betrayal's been like for you, I'm here. If you don't want to do that in front of people, if you need some privacy, I am also here. There are other wonderful people in the congregation ready to hear this, including our pastoral care team. I don't know if you've ever talked to the Reverend Pam Johnson around here, but you could tell her anything. And she would just give you a hug and make you feel so good. So let's get through this holiday season that can be difficult when we're not around people exactly like us by sticking together, learning the hard lessons, and remembering that love that is represented in authenticity and taking chances. And remember, there are people who are here to love you through that. May it be so. Our offertory goes for a lot of cool stuff. I don't know if you knew that. One of the things that we support during our giving is our staff, cute staff. We have Camille and Farron and me, and we have Cass, who's our bookkeeper. This is a place of employment. It's a really cool place to work. We're here to support people, and also the best part is by contributing our treasure to maintaining good, healthy staff relationships in our church, we just benefit over and over and over again. Now, if you're just here for the first time and you'd like the offering plate to slide past you, that's cool. If you would like to give generously, that's all right. If you don't have much to give and you just need to receive today, we are so glad you are here. And the offering will be gratefully received. You don't have to look far to appreciate the offerings of this church with snowflakes and Christmas trees and all the things around us that are bright and wonderful. But the thing that holds me in the brightness and wonder is our mission. So please join me in our offertory response. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. To this work we dedicate our offerings. So we're going to sing a closing song that I've never sang before, so I'm a little excited. I have no idea how it goes, so I might not sing very loud. But that's exciting, and I feel a little vulnerable about it. So there we go. So please rise in body and spirit, both here and at home, and join us in hymn number 226, People Look East.
People look east, the time is near of the crowning of the year. Make your house fair as you are able. Trim the hearth and set the table. People look east and sing today. Love, the guest is on the way. Furrows be glad, the earth is bare. One more seed is planted there. Give up your strength, the seed to nourish, that it in course the flower may flourish. People look east and sing today. Love, the rose is on the way. Stars keep the watch when night is dim. One more light the bowl shall brim, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as the sun and moon together. People look east and sing today. Love, the star is on the way.
Nice. Please be seated. I like that. I like learning new things. This is kind of my favorite part of the service because I get to say, so what? Because I just like saying that. So what? First of all, don't underestimate the people around you. I think that is one of the things that the traps we fall into when we're trying to create overly protective boundaries and not giving ourselves space to be authentic, because we can miss something big, something that might be harmful, like mistletoe arrows, which I think we're all relatively safe from here today. Allowing yourself to be in authentic relationships is worth the risk. It is risky, but it's worth it. And allowing yourself to be in authentic relationships with people who might have hurt you is sometimes worth the risk. Do you hear the sometimes caveat? We have to make decisions about what's good for us, but we also have to use what we've learned to love and to shine. And the last poem I have is called Shine. And I think about, I've used a lot of images of light and darkness, and sun is dependable, but then we don't get to see the cool things at night. It's so complicated, right? But shine like the cosmic dust following after the great meteor shower. We are the living remnants of time and all that has come to pass in its wake, briefly shining lights on the way to eternity. We are only visible to the naked eye for an instant. Take this moment to shine like the stardust you are. May the light of our time on earth shine to bless the world and each other. And I invite you to join me saying the word shine 3 times. Let's do it. Shine, shine, shine. Go out this week and shine. We are so glad to have had you here. Now I'd like to invite Judy up again to extinguish our chalice, which marks the end of our time, me talking and beginning of announcements and all kinds of wonderful next steps. Please join me in our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. Yeah. That's that little shine, shine, shine we take with us. So speaking of shining, it's time for announcements. This community has a ton going on, and I'd like to invite Judith up, and then anybody else who has an announcement kind of line up over here so that we can move through our wonderful work. It's our social justice moment. There we go.
Thank you. So I really am struck by the idea of betrayal, and especially in terms of what we have betrayed in terms of living with our environment. So here, today, the quote is, or the quotes readings are from Joanna Macy and Chris Johnstone, and they're talking about how can we continue to have hope whenever we have all these things going on with the environment. Communities don't just involve humans. They include all that we belong to, feel part of, identify with, and act for. When we stand up for a community, it is as though the community acts and speaks through us, making us its mouthpiece. This role of speaking for our natural world is crucial. If we don't, who will? Unless someone speaks for the salmon, the rivers, the wild spaces, and the rest of life, how will we stop the relentless drive of short-term profiteering that is turning our world into a wasteland? Our survival is at stake. We are only beginning to realize how ecosystems act together to maintain conditions favorable to humans and all life.
Thank you. Woo, that was a good one, huh? I don't know about clapping about devastation of the earth, but that was a wonderful reading. Thank you.
Yeah, we can clap for Judith's reading of it. Hey, everybody. My name's Andy. My pronouns are he and they. I am your board president for this current term. And so I always have lots of announcements, it seems like. I wasn't planning on this one, but you saw your little insert. Spread far and wide this wonderful event that's coming up on Saturday, December 10th. And I believe this will be a fundraiser. Last time we did this kind of thing, it was not a fundraiser, so keep that in mind. But do come just share with the talent of these two beautiful human beings. Sally and Dylan will be reading Winters in the Air. They're going to be reading different seasonal readings, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful event. Also on Saturday, come to church all day on Saturday, because we also have our quarterly council at 10 a.m., and that's just a chance for everyone in the church who is involved in some way and who wants to get involved, really, to come together, talk about church concerns. We're going to be talking about the Green Sanctuary. I think Sandy's going to give an update on that and look for some more input from the church as a whole, because they're really all on that committee, right? And just other ways to get involved, other updates and stuff like that. So 10 a.m. here we'll have coffee and some refreshments and good conversation and connecting with your community. Also, the board meeting, really more of a board check-in, is going to be on Zoom on Wednesday at 6:30. So if you're on the board, I'll see you there. If you want to come to that meeting, please just let me know. This one hopefully will be very quick. And then finally, so staff, kind of close your ears a little bit. You know, it is holiday time coming up, and we traditionally will donate a special gift at this time to the staff above and beyond what we ask for your pledge. And so next week and the following week, we'll be collecting that gift to give to the staff to distribute amongst all of our people who work here, the beautiful workers that help keep this place running. we'll have a little special envelope that we'll be putting into the service order. And so that will be a way for you to get that gift to the staff. So we'll be collecting that over the next 2 Sundays. So if you have questions about that, let me know. And so staff, you can open your ears again. I am done. Judy, do you have an announcement? Okay.
I just have a really quick thing. I put it on Facebook. You may have seen it if you're on our Facebook group page. But I'm connected to a woman who does marvelous work with the unhoused folks in Chattanooga, which we have way too many of. She's going to be collecting actual Christmas gifts. She thought it would be nice to be able to give them. She collects stuff weekly or every bi-weekly and gets what they need out to them. She takes them to them directly all over town where she sees them. So if you're at all interested in participating in that, she's looking for small little wrapped gifts and marked woman or man, and I will take them to her on the 16th. So bring those next Sunday and give them to me, and I'll be happy to get those to her if you want to participate. Thank you.
Good morning. I just wanted to let everybody know that the coffee hour sign-up sheets are up on the wall, and we could use some people filling in. Second thing, on the 21st of December, we're having a solstice event, including labyrinth walks. We are also going to be burning a Yule log, which is back on the table right now, and if you would like to take a look, there's some instructions about things we're going to be doing, and just take a look. Thanks.
There will be lots of things going on during the holidays, and I charge you with reading your newsletter. Right? There are lots of opportunities to get engaged. I want to say the quarterly council, if you're wondering where you fit in around here and how you might get going on a project or need some support for your ideas, that's a really good think tank for the church. We're going to be talking about several ideas, but one of the things that I'm going to be talking about is how our church is actually thematic and how we can tie that theme across spaces into what we're doing. For example, the theme of wonder this month. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. The last thing I wanted to say is Christmas is on Sunday. And this church traditionally has a Christmas Eve service, but not a Christmas service. So I am very on the fence about Sunday, Christmas. And I was thinking if people expressed interest in RSVP, that we would meet here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon just to gather and reflect a little bit on Christmas Day. If that's something that you would particularly like, please let me know. If no one lets me know, guess what? I will be at 2 o'clock on my couch at home. So I don't want it to be a thing where I think we need this big thing, so I go all the way out of my way and I'm sitting here bored on Christmas. I would rather, if there is people who'd like to hang out with me, I would love to be here on Christmas. So just let me know if you need that. It'll be like a mini service. There'll be some snacks. But I'd love to just kind of plan that as the group of people who do need it and want to come and kind of plan that together. So please let me know. There will be something in the newsletter to respond to that. And as always, think of all the amazing information we've gathered today. And I just want to do this one last time as we go out into the world. Let's do the shine, shine, shine one more time. Let's say it 3 times. Let's go out in the world and shine, shine, shine. Have a wonderful week. Much love to everyone.